Dear diarrhea, diary full of shit. Just play along with myself and I and no one else, or yo, I'm so legit. First of all, I want to start with I've decided to drink today and tomorrow and maybe even on Friday, and then oh fuck it, don't matter because I need to wait. As of May 31st, it'll be exactly 2 years since my DUI ticket reduced to DWAI. So it'll show free and clear, as far as my points. And as far as talking to, be it the boss, or, God forbid you have to talk to a recruiter or an HR person, it's just going to confuse the, ever loving fucking hell out of them. If you have to explain, well, in 1 month I get full points, blah blah blah. It's like just fucking wait, and that way you can say, it's been 2 years since the ticket. I have 12 points available on my license. It shows the DWAI, which was reduced. But it also shows that it was a DUI reduced to WAI. And it also shows all the fucking tickets that I've ever gotten in my fucking life, because that's how that works, apparently, in Colorado. It's just easier to go about it that way, and I wasn't really planning on wasting this much time, with getting my police records and this, that, and the other, but it looks bad. You know what I mean? If you have to explain that to somebody, they're probably going to think, gee, DUI, dude, you've been maintaining these. As far as the time frame goes, they're basically going to think you've been sitting around drinking, if you've been unemployed, for more than 2 or 3 months. Doesn't matter, who you've been working for, it just doesn't matter. So, and like I said, the fact that we, extended that for like 7 months, and because human beings are human beings, so they're gonna internalize shit, right? And they're going to develop biases, right? And stereotypes exist for a reason, and so do biases. And sometimes they're fucked up and they're based on bullshit. Other times it's like, you know what, I just can't take a chance with you, so it is what it is. But anyway. So that forewarning, I'm kind of drunk right now, but I wanted to mention Farkles. But of course, right? I saved that picture of you, and you know why. I can't talk shit about you, about, maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline, maybe it's both. She's got that supermodel look, but that's not really my type. And then you do something like that, and I was like, fuck. I'll save that. I'll masturbate to it. It's not like that in and of itself is, that, provocative. It's just, the fact that you're, acknowledging the concept. So, if it's my concept, if it ain't, then it ain't. But if it's my concept, then yeah. So. See. I guess that's really all I got to say. I could say some more shit, but I'm not exactly prepared to talk about it right now based on my state of impairment. But What am I at? 5. So basically, all this audio presentation would be is, hey, I'm drunk. Hey, Farkles. You know, hey. Put your butt cheeks on my dick. But, butt cheeks, not butthole for you fucking faggot motherfuckers. Which is basically the general population of Earth. But, like I said, if you're in a room full of 99 people and you're the only one who likes eating broken glass, you're the odd one out. If you're the only one in a room full of 99 people who doesn't like eating cat shit, you're not wrong, you're just outnumbered. And that just sort of is, kind of the way that, the human species, the male of the human species has worked itself out. So, that's some fucked up shit. The gays, they have their own, they're miswired, okay? They are a fuck up. They are miswired, poor bastards. It's technically the same thing with lesbos, but they're, as society is concerned, they're not judged as harshly. But if you're a heterosexual dude who still wants to fucking, do that butthole shit, you're a goddamn fucking psycho as far as I'm concerned. So, and if anybody's listening in, thinking, well, what the hell are you talking about? I'm thinking about, butt dog cleavage, where the woman straddles the man and works her hips back and forth and, glides her butt cheeks back and forth across the, his dick, the head of his dick. Work it down low, up high, get them bouncing and clapping, where you kind of bring them together and it kind of brings one side down lower than the other and this, that, and the other. That has nothing to do with a butthole, okay? You fucking faggots. Your dick will slide over it, but it, has nothing to do, it ends there, you know what I mean? Don't take a shit in my mouth. Don't fart in my nostrils. Don't, I don't want to taste your butthole, anything like that. That's all modern Earth shit, okay? Because I come from a planet where, the men are Spartan warriors. And all the women have hips, eyes, curves, and thighs, know how to wear their panties, and please the men. And sometimes it might not be a thong thing, zero, no seam. Or, like I said, you can invoke the, jock strap method, which is silly, but, it works. Work the angles down low, up high, be it panty, smooth groove. Gusset line, up to, that nice little crease, blah, 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 this, that, and there's different, I have a panty fetish, I have a butt cheek fetish. And apparently, most of you fucking earthlings don't. It's all, hey, butthole, 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 you're a fucked up group of people. You were there, talking about earthlings, you know what I mean? You are a fucked up group of people. Kind of the same thing with like this all horse shit, there's, okay, so, theological, defense, okay, no. Undoing of America, no. What else they got? They got 4 fucking things working against them. Chaos equals, pleasing the, Savior. No. And there was a 4th one. There's no other option than to wipe these fucking people off the face of the fucking earth. So you got people like, Iblu Huba Abmar, saying, white males are the cause of all evil. And it's like, no, I think it's you. Yeah. Empirically, 1 + 1 = 2. But that's just fucking sort of how that game works. Like just the other day, I saw this fucking raghead, some bitch, bitch who fucking had her, it basically was sporting a ninja costume. And I said, hey, how you doing? She didn't say fucking shit. So I said, didn't even hurt, did it? So I said, fuck you, But you got to be prepared, What are you talking about? I didn't say anything. I didn't hear me say anything. Did you hear me say anything? You know, it's like you kind of want to flip it back on her. You know, I said, well, you know what you fucking did. You know, if that offends me, why not? You know, if that offends you, maybe it would offend me. You know, I acknowledge you in a courteous way, and you ignore me because I'm a we're a legion. No, fuck you, bitch. Universally preferable behavior. You know, my religion. You know, and like I said, I consider my Christian just a bad one. You know, it's like that's generally considered a bad thing. You know. But yours is like, hey man, you know, hey, you got oiled up fucking sex orgy, you know, going on here. It was like, yeah, fuck you, don't hit me with that shit. I'm pulling rank. You know? So yeah, I'm gonna fucking call you out on it. You know, and then you want a cup of tea? No, all right, okay, we're gonna play that game. All right. You initiated step 2, I initiated step 3. You initiated step 4, now I'm initiating step 5. And I'm prepared to initiate step 6. Yeah. Oh, okay, that's kind of what I thought. Yeah, okay. Just double checking, you know, whatever, you know, just however you want to go about it, you know. Fuck you and everything you bring to the table. Universally preferable behavior. Do you cause harm to humanity? You know, spirit, whatever. Are you a bad person? Yes, it would appear that you are. Yeah. And you might be the type of person who maybe fucking ignores that particular section, but you know, fuck you. No. I'm pulling rank. I'll fucking pull you the fuck out and lay you out and smear you on a piece of fucking toast. So. Anyway, but that's kind of how I do anyway, you know. Because I always, you know, if I encounter a person, I'm always like, hey, how you doing? And if they don't say something, it's like, no, I'm not going to give you that clearance, you asshole. I'm going to call you out on it. So I'll say something like, didn't even hurt, did it? You know, so. Anyway. And you can, you know, like, didn't even hurt, did it versus didn't even hurt. Didn't even hurt, did it is more of a direct focus on you versus didn't even hurt, where it's like you could sort of play that off as an ambiguous, you know, statement. But I don't care, you know. I'm willing to take it to the next, you know, to step 2, 3, 4, 5. But that's just me. I'm not trying to sound like a tough guy or rough guy or anything. No, if you're going to be fucking rude, I'm going to call you on it. You know? Mildly, you know, tit for tat. You know? I'm not going to smash the fly with a fucking, you know, sledgehammer. I'm going to smash the fly with a fly swatter. But, yeah, fuck you. I'm going to call you on it. You piece of fucking dog shit. So, anyway, what was your name again? Farkles. Yes. Little Miss Model. Hey, you and me, we should do it up. You know, we should do some traveling and you know, you'll have me in your life for that particular time. Now, maybe you have a man in your life. You don't show it because that's how you fucking bitches do. You know, but, you know, you might as well add me to that list of a guy you're not willing to show, you know, on your arm in your life, you know, other than like the occasional, you know, photographer or whatever this and that. I don't know if you got a man or you don't or whatever, but, you know, hey, why not? You know what I mean? Let's do it, you know. And you've come around. I think you must have found, you know, because, you know, your tits are fake. You may or may not have fake ass cheeks. You may or may not have your cheekbones, you know, shaved down or whatever the fucking hell, you know, and, you know, had lip injections. I remember I used to call you Little Miss Horse Lips or whatever the hell I used to call you, you know. it does seem like you've at least got that zeroed in. Maybe you've changed plastic surgeons. Maybe you've communicated with them enough, like, hey, yeah, that horse lip shit, maybe you go with like a model shit, I don't know, but, leave a comment below, you know, and I'll hit you up. But that's not the way that's supposed to work, You don't leave a comment below. I, approach you and do this, that, and the other, and, I'll make me an Instagram channel or whatever. But the thing is, I mean, what are you expecting to see? It's me, on a yacht somewhere, so, and pardon that pathetic, sorry ass laugh, but, we're just kind of two peas in a pod, you know what I mean? It's like if someone were to see us out in public, I'd be the guy, like, hey, and somebody'd be like, hey, not a lot of taxis come down this road, and then a limo would pull up and you'd, walk over from talking to your friends, and both you and I would get in a limo, and it's like, shit, but I don't know. We'd go to that fancy ass hotel, that you booked, for 2 or 3 days, for your stay and wherever, and I would just be the guy, that you just hang out with and you would, sexually please, over the next 2 or 3 days. So anyway, whatever, fuck ever.